So let us introduce to you the Skynet Catalyst project. Our motto is borderless remote healthcare, a reality with 5G. Is it working? Sorry. Okay, thank you. So, in terms of primary objective, what Skynet has been working with is the fact that we still have in the world many epidemic outbreaks, and that it's a difficult problem to manage from an e-health point of view. We have examples with the flu. We have also the Ebola crisis that happened a few years ago in Africa. And the problematic we want to tackle with Skynet is how telecom providers can help with that issue. So we believe there is a value proposition for that. So the basic relationship between a patient and a doctor usually happen in the same location and sometimes also in a hospital. So what happens when the patient and the doctor are in two different locations? They can even be in two different countries with hospital and health systems which are really different from one country to the other. So this is, we think, where service providers can help, and the telecom has a value proposition to interconnect hospitals. So we will have, each hospital typically will have a relationship with a local service provider, telecom operator, and the telecom operator will interact to establish a high-performing end-to-end connectivity. So how do we achieve that? What are the technical challenges, and what are also the business challenges? So in terms of technical and service capabilities, we will have to enable, of course, legacy services like voice, video, but also more advanced services enabling, for example, remote surgery or services for remote labs or IoTs. All this will be enabled through 5G network slices in Skynet. So we are enabling networking not only on 5G, but we are also considering the end-to-end slices across hybrid networks, including physical and virtual networks, but also mobile and fixed networks. And that's also very important because not all countries will have the same infrastructure. To enable this, we have the operators to be interworking together. And this is important to enable inter-carrier orchestration, inter-carrier assurance, billing, and settlement. And that's important because, of course, the hospitals are in different areas of the world. For epidemics also, we don't know where it will happen and which countries will be touched by the problem. So that's why it needs to be also on-demand service. And the TM Forum assets have been widely used to enable this on-demand service activation. Then from a business point of view, there are two consumers and stakeholders which are very important in Skynet. First, we have worked on a B2B to X business model for e-health, enabling third-party e-health providers to use the Skynet facilities and services. And second is we have also created a Skynet blueprint, which will facilitate new service providers to join the Skynet initiative. So Skynet is already a very large team with 11 operators involved, 6 partners, vendors, and all over the world with stakeholders in 4 different continents. And we had a great teamwork during this project with many different meetings, also physical workshops. And there was a great involvement of all stakeholders to achieve what we have done. And Marco will go into the details of the technical architecture and of the modeling and implementation of Skynet.
Yep. Thank you. So as Frederick was saying, we need to implement the connectivity between 2 operators that are scattered in 2 countries that we don't know in advance which country will be. So this means that we cannot take some assumptions that are part of the same group or are part even of the same region. We can take an assumption that there is a commercial agreement between them and there is a commercial agreement with the end customer that for us is the hospital. And that is the promise that we need to keep as an operator. In order to implement this kind of connectivity, what we need to do is to build something like this. So we distribute the ownership of the natural slice to each operator, and then we make them talk together so that we can guarantee the end-to-end connectivity between our 2 customer endpoints that in this specific use case are represented by the 2 hospitals so that they can serve the doctors and the patient. This is not a trivial task. So this is where the orchestration and the OSS and BSS roles are really coming into place, because they need to make sure that the slices are activated on demand on 2 different carriers in using different ways, using different agreements, using different contracts, and that is quite complex. So in terms of order flow, this is very quickly what it would happen in a possible use case situation. We have a customer hospital that is where the patient is. The customer hospital will access the Skynet portal, and through the Skynet portal they will have the possibility to choose from a catalog of services, of medical services available worldwide through the Skynet initiative, what they need. And the lead operator that is in the same country where the hospital resides is receiving the order for the medical service and decide what to do. They receive the order, they say, okay, I need to activate, I need to get the services from a cardiologist that is sitting in Japan, and I'm based in UK, for example. Now, this order is split at the CRM and COM level in our case, and is split in a local order in the operator that is going to the OSS layer to activate the local slice, and is creating a product order to the remote operator to activate the remote slice according to the remote operator way of working. Through the orchestration, we are able to share the configuration and the parameters that are necessary to instantiate the communication between the 2 slices. Of course, if the operators are not talking to each other directly, there is the need for a third order of the connectivity between them so that they can actually talk. And that is managed basically in the same exact way. In order to achieve the capability for this orchestration, we identified the basic functionalities that are required for the operator, that are required to be implemented by the operator so that they can work. And that includes all the service inventories and the catalogs that needs to be updated with accurate information in real time. And that is mandatory for the on-demand aspect of the services. Because if you want it to be fully automated, the data needs to be up-to-date. Otherwise, it's just not working. The full orchestration stack has been implemented. So we start from the CRM and the COM layer, the customer order management in the BSS layer, but we have also the service order management we have the network service orchestration, and we have the domain orchestration that is also activating the VNF. So the full stack of orchestration is connected and is working in a real time. This is also activating the monitoring and assurance capabilities and the billing and charging capabilities. And these two have a crucial aspect that they need to have the possibility to work in this inter-carrier mode. So this platform needs to be ready to accept and share information to external parties at the different layers of the architecture. Now, this is a simplification, of course, of the architecture. We built something a bit more detailed. So we built an architecture that identifies the functionalities using ODA and ETOM. And this is actually very important because we used a number of industry standards, because we think that in order to enable the collaboration between the operators, we need to be able to cope with the industry standard that they choose to use. And we need to find, where are the ways that the architecture can be flexible, so each operator can choose how to work, and where we need to be very rigid on the ways of interworking between to enable the collaboration between the operator. In order to do that, we used GSMA Nest, Etsy, ONAP, Oasis Tosca. We used a lot of TM Forum APIs to enable the communication. We used MEF LSO, TM Forum frameworks, almost completely. SID, TAM, and ETOM for the language, because these standards are not using the same language, and we needed a common ground to talk. And of course, the 3GPP. We replicated this blueprint on 4 different operators that we wanted to have a view as realistic as possible to how that could happen in real life. So we implemented it in 4 operators, and each of the 4 operators were completely free to choose how they wanted to implement it to represent what they were internal policies, what could be a real collaboration framework, so that we know that the rules that we tested and we discussed in the past months can enable this collaboration to grow from 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 to 20 operators in a quite solid manner. Yeah, here it's good to mention that we had also operators in different continents. So we had Vodafone UK, we got data from Verizon, we got Entity from Japan, we got Orange representing 2 continents by itself with France and Ivory Coast. So the discussion were actually very, very articulate, and we tried to implement as much of the point of view that we could. We didn't forget about the business. So the business aspects of the solution are quite complex and quite important. E-health itself is a critical topic because there are a lot of privacy and ethical aspects to it that go beyond the technical solution. And they need to be taken into account if, as telco, we want to address the business vertical of e-health. It's not something that we can avoid. It's there, we need to think about it, and we need to collaborate with e-health, with health, not e-health, health aspects, like the health ministry. Like, we need to talk with hospitals. We need to understand who our customers are in order to work with them. And of course, we are telco, it's a business. We need to understand what is each of the telcos has a slightly different go-to-market strategy. And we try to build something that could accommodate in a flexible way each possible go-to-market aspect of the telco. We had identified 4 main scenarios. It's not exhaustive, but we think that this could cover the majority of the scenario that we could be presented with. And we built something that can enable them to collaborate even if they have a different business strategy. The idea was that this is a collaborative, this is a social initiative. We want to have more and more operators to join the initiative. So we need something that can be replicated and without having the constraints of a walled garden of standards or a specific business strategy that we want to implement. We want to collaborate, we want to help the health sector, we want to grow as much as possible with the flexibility that is needed. So, to close, we used a lot, actually, on-demand intercarrier hybrid network slice orchestration. That is, again, representing the kind of flexibility that we were targeting. The technology is not uniform in the operators. There are operators more advanced. There are operators that are lagging behind. We need to be able to make them work together. So we need to cope with this difference in the connectivity. We built the intercarrier assurance platform, and this is one of the most interesting aspects, because it's adding a new loop of monitoring. How do you manage when you have more carrier providing a service orchestrated in conjunction the assurance and monitoring aspects of it? At the same time, we had the intercarrier charging and billing. So how this charging and billing settlement happens between the carriers that are not directly connected. And we had a good solution for that based on also blockchain to provide something that was very, very solid to share information. And of course, the business model, as said, we discussed it a lot on how this could be a real business opportunity and a real opportunity to help the social environment. The interesting part also of the solution is that while discussing it, we realized that what we built can be applied to a number of other verticals that we require this kind of high-performing inter-carrier connectivity. And that can go beyond the e-health. E-health actually provided us with a number of requirements that are critical because we discussed about remote surgery. Those are life-threatening scenarios. And by discussing that, we realized that can be extended to a number of other business verticals. The business model obviously can change, it's different, the parties are different, but the baseline is exactly the same. So, this is the closure. We are at the booth at the Catalyst, yeah, and then we go to the Q&A. We have 9 demos actually at the booth that where you can see how we do the intercarrier orchestration. We had 4 different flavors of network slices activation. We have the inter and intra-carrier assurance and monitoring demonstrated. We have, of course, the billing and charging as well. So a lot of stuff to see, all implemented. And I think that now is Q&A.
Any questions for our speakers?
Yep.
Thank you. At the very end, you kind of hinted that this kind of use case here may apply to many different verticals.
Yep.
Okay. So you did not use the term, but are you thinking about, let's say, developing or consolidating some kind of platform, generic platform that could be easily instantiated or tuned for different businesses? So how much of this is specific? And how much are you ready to let's say, create some kind of generic platform that could be easily
We discussed that in terms of the Skynet Catalyst, that we could have some common platform that can be replicated and even productified. At the end, personally, I think that is more about having an initiative that is driving this collaboration in a strong way, so that the carriers can interwork together in a very knowing commonly what are the, for example, the ways that you can share the products, like we use the TMF, the product ordering APIs, but also the catalog and how do you share the information about SLA and performances that are crucial to monitor the service end-to-end and to quickly identify where are the problems and make the operators work together better at a very high level. So, yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, we have, there is a number of artifacts that have been published on GitHub that you can also look at. So that could be another way also to approach it, where you have a common development platform, more in an open source way. Yeah.
Yes, Marco, just to add on this, we have seen innovation to take like the federated product catalog. So that concept can integrate it in this system, and it can be then select a particular product offering and that vertical that can is applicable. So different work streams can be combined in the solution we just discussed.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Annie Turner. I work for Market Metal. I'm just wondering, I know that this is built on Blade Runner. Were you going to go after Skynet, or are you going to progress it?
That's a good
or
question.
have you not recovered from Skynet yet?
That's a good
Thank
question,
you.
and we are going to discuss it tomorrow probably a bit, but we don't know. We had in this moment we are discussing what could be the possibilities. There are many actually, but we are. No, we are choosing the movie for the next Catalyst. Yeah. Yeah.
So we actually have an action day tomorrow all around the catalysts where the groups will meet together and discuss potentially moving projects forward until the next cycle. So that's where you want to be if you want to get involved in any of these projects. So if you're around tomorrow, then do come along. I think it's on the second floor. I'll have to confirm, but if you go over to the reception in the Catalyst zones, either on this floor or downstairs, they'll be able to tell you definitely. So yeah, come over to that and get involved and get creative and make partners and friends and do all the stuff that you've been hearing about here at the Catalyst Theatre for the past 3 days. So with that, I will have to say thank you, gentlemen, and to find out more, get the demos, please do go and visit them at their booth, and stick around for the next session in about 5 minutes, which will be all about digital twins.